YC has this mantra that they say at the end of a batch. They tell founders that startups don't die by homicide, they die by suicide. So your startup wouldn't die because your competitors are going after you or because you ran out of money. In fact, most startups die before they run out of money.
Simulated 1,000 VCs, which eventually get you into Y Combinator.
We were just looking at raising a pre-seed round and thinking about YC. We had no idea how to talk to investors. So we were like, okay, let's go and simulate some investors. And it allowed us.
You're watching today's podcast, I'm Boyuan. If you enjoy deep conversation about building the future of technology and startups, please subscribe and stay updated. Welcome everyone to today's AI. I'm Boyuan. I'm joined by James He, the founder and CEO of Artificial Societies. And Artificial Societies is an AI platform that allows you to create simulated societies on LinkedIn and X, and also run A/B testing on your simulated network to see the result. The reason I felt it's so interesting to speak with James is that I've tested your platform. I really love the user journey. Secondly, I find it so fascinating that you guys build a simulation before you apply to YC, and then you ran 1,000 VC simulation, and eventually you got into YC, Y Combinator, and you raised $5.3 million. And after that, you shipped a ton of new features and onboarded some of the large enterprise with big names, only with 3 people. That's so fascinating, and I can't wait to dive in. So congrats and welcome, James.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive in. So what does Artificial Society do in your simplest words?
So Artificial Societies is a collective of AI personas that simulate how a group of humans, how a large group of people would react to something, will react to a message. So for example, our customers would use us to simulate their customers and see how their marketing messages might land within their customer group before they actually test it in the real world. This means that they can experiment different messaging at a scale that was impossible in the past. In the past, they might be able to A/B test between 5 or 10 messages or ideas. Now they can test 1,000 ideas before choosing the top 5 to continue with real testing or spending more money into it.
Yeah, I think that's quite an interesting idea that, A/B testing traditionally is getting so popular in the software development. And I find it so fascinating that you can use A/B testing not just on content creation, but also on marketing as well as communication on your social network.
So eventually, this is actually the same problem that you can see from all the way from software to an investor pitch to a sales deck to a social media post. All of these you're sending a piece of information to a group of humans. So if you have a model of a group of humans, you can then use that to help you experiment all of these different types of information. So I think of what we are building as not really a tool that helps you draft LinkedIn posts or social media posts, but a tool that lets you run impossible experiments with a group of people that, it's impossible to experiment 10 different marketing ideas or different communication angles in the real world with real societies, but you can do that in an artificial society. So yeah. I will almost think of it that it's not actually that different between all of these different content types, because underneath, it's the same group of humans. We humans are social animals. We spread information in the same way. We respond in the same way. Of course, given different situational differences, but that's our job. So you don't worry about it. We'll just consume that into our models.
So how do people mostly use Artificial Societies on your platform? Is it mostly on LinkedIn and X? or do you see there are some other use cases?
We sometimes get surprised by how creative our users are. So we have a self-serve platform that mostly it's actually founders and early stage companies that's using it. And we do also then have the more B2B things that we do on top of it. Essentially, we use the technology in a more creative way for some of the more enterprise level customers. So we essentially use it on their behalf. Now, on the sort of self-served platform side, a lot of founders use us. Announcement post is a big one. When they are pitching to investors, that's a big one. When they are going into a new market and they want to figure out what sort of product positioning or like offering positioning lands well within that market, we see some people testing those as well. We see like some users actually just using LinkedIn post as a guise to test out, oh, maybe I should build this product, or maybe I should go into this market. And then they can see how a group of people respond to the hypothetical LinkedIn post to gauge reaction before actually committing, say, real engineering spend into something. There's actually that just really creative usage that we are still discovering every day.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You guys have helped the startups from where traditional A/B testing happens at a very later stage, right? But now I tend to be able to use A/B testing at an early stage, so that helps them make smarter decisions into their product building.
Yeah, so startup building is very much they call it navigating the idea maze. Because it's such a high dimensional thing, you have so many different options in front of you, and the it's really costly to experiment multiple things in the real world, which is why the common advice to early stage startup is to pick one very, very, very niche thing and try to execute on that. And then based on the learning that you get from that one niche thing, you might be able to pivot a little bit to find your product market fit. Whereas having an artificial society means that the cost of experimentation suddenly drops to zero or near zero, then it means that you can run a lot of what we call pre-experiments. So yes, experimenting in the real world is very important. It's still important. You should still talk to real customers and conduct real life experiments. But hey, let's make every single one of those bets in the real world count by first pre-experimenting a much wider range of ideas or approaches in a simulation so that when you are going out to take your one bet in reality and experimenting with those bets, you have that high confidence that, okay, you know what? I have done a lot of homework before this, and my chance of success when I take that real bet is much higher. Yeah, we still talk to customers. We still have to take bets. Despite we are literally running a simulation company, but it means that we can experiment a much wider range before we actually go out to take the bets, so that every single bet count for us. That's how we've been able to do it with so few people.
So I have a very interesting use case. Just hypothetically speaking, I always want to test a meme post on LinkedIn because LinkedIn has such a different vibes from X, right? So I've got a network of professional people on LinkedIn, and I want to test whether a meme post is going to go viral without actually offending anyone. So maybe help me walk through how I use from a user perspective, how I use artificial societies.
Yeah, so step one, who's your target audience? You can describe that target audience, and the platform will then go and search in our database of 1.5 million AI personas that are built on real people's profiles, and it can create an artificial society for you. And then you can experiment this idea of this meme post into this society. Around 1 minute or two later, you'll get the results of how many reactions do we think potentially this post could get? What are the different top comments that people might have? You might see some people who are like, oh, this is really funny. And you might also see some people like, I don't have time for this. Like, this is very unprofessional. But see, like, our goal is not to say this is the best post possible. Our goal is to say, okay, you want to try this thing? feel free to try it in an artificial society and then be aware of the potential outcomes before you take the bet in the real world. The fun thing is we show you this entire network view of every single individual in this artificial society. So every individual is a dot, and then you can see how the lines are connecting between different dots as how people are influencing each other in the real world. And once you run a simulation of this meme post, you can actually click on individual dots, so individual personas, and then see exactly what they thought individually. So I love clicking around the network after I run a simulation to see what are the thoughts. Some of the thoughts are hilarious. And sometimes I'm like, wow, okay, this is more real than LinkedIn, because you know how like sometimes on LinkedIn you get a lot of bots comment of like, oh,
Yeah.
hey James, this is such a cool idea. Have you thought about this? I'm like, oh, come on. My bot is more realistic than
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I could be living my simulation right now, but I love clicking through that so that I can see what are the potential, what are the things that these personas could be saying, what are the things that people could be saying or thinking as they read this post. I've avoided so many bad posts by doing this. Like, trust me, there are many posts that I drafted that a society be like, ah, no, you shouldn't do that. So I have like we should be. It's like we have spared my human audience of the really awkward bad post that James has written, because the personas have been the first line of defense to be like, ah, no, 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 don't post that one. And so yeah, so I don't know. Like I feel like hopefully my audience likes what I'm posting.
On your recent paper, you posted that so artificial societies have achieved 81% accuracy in running collective behavioral simulations, which is 20% better than both human experts and some general LLM models like Claude Sonnet 3.7, GPT-4o, Gemini 2.5 Pro. So how do you achieve that? Is it because the simulation actually runs on every single node and see the reaction and act upon that? Or so yeah, what's the secret sauce?
So for more context, that's when we try to see if we can predict which post from the same. Let's take the same author, which can we predict which post will get more reaction compared to another post. So we made a lot of pairs of different posts written by the same authors, and we put them head to head with each other. And we can then try to see if different approaches from a human expert to a traditional LLM to an artificial society can pick out which post in the pair is a true winner. And I encourage everyone to do this sort of like as a little game. We should probably make that into a little game where you can try to pick out which one is a winner. It's a lot harder than you think, because I tried to do it and I didn't, so I was only getting like maybe 61, 62% correct. 50% is chance. It's a flip of a coin, just guessing either one is correct. And somehow I'm only 10% above chance. My co-founder beat me and he's really happy about it. And so that really just puts it into perspective of like what that 82%, 81% mean from like from like predicting which post is going to be more viral. I think one of the big reasons, we did a lot of research in this of by removing different parts of the system, by lobotomizing our system in different places to see how that influenced the predictive accuracy. The ability to capture collective level responses is something it's not a trivial task. So the moment we remove the network of allowing personas to influence each other and allowing our system to guide personas on how they interact with each other, suddenly the predictive accuracy dropped back to around what the other models are doing, or like around the human level. And we realized that this is because AI personas on their own are not very good at capturing the full range of human opinions. And this is echoed by a lot of academic research as well. So what we did was that we have this system that lets personas interact with each other and influence each other, just like how we humans do that in the real world. And then because we can then tune how they influence each other to make the entire society as on a collective level more accurate and more reflecting of the collective level results. So to put it simply, on an individual level, AI personas can do individual level really well, but not at a collective level. So we create a system of influences and links between personas so that we can reflect how a collective will respond to a piece of content, such as testing whether two pieces of content, which one is going to be the winner. So that went a little bit nerdy there, so I do apologize.
I think that's a perfect example of collective intelligence and also a collaboration between AI and human at best. So, James, you came from diverse background. You did research in behavior science. You published a couple of papers there, and you did psychology and data science, and now the startup. So, how did you decide to leave the academic background and start building a business? And why artificial societies?
Yeah, so I guess building a business has been in my DNA from a young age. I was born in China, and I lived there until when I was 14. In my town, in my hometown, it's like a rural town in west of Sichuan province. Like building a business isn't something that's very highbrow. It's called making a livelihood. If you failed your high school entrance exam, you go work at a noodle shop, and then after 5 years, you learn enough about noodle making, and then you open your own noodle shop, and so is the circle of life. Like building a business is just a really um, it's a really mundane thing. It's almost like just like in every day, like, oh yeah, like what can you make? Like my mom is still doing a bunch of different startups, so well, like small businesses and stuff. That's just how things are when I was growing up. So when I went to New Zealand on my own when I was 14 to go to school there, I immediately got bored of school because in China, school lets you out at 7 p.m. In New Zealand, they let you out at 3 p.m. And I'm like, what am I going to do with myself now? I don't know, like, should I watch some YouTube? Is that what people do um, in their free time? So I started building my first businesses. So I guess like building businesses is actually the baseline. The academic was almost like added on top of it as like a second layer. So I did a lot of like software and coding and stuff like back in high school in my first startups. And when I went to Cambridge, I actually consciously decided to do more psychology and more the human sciences part because I was very influenced by the books of Walter Isaacson on innovators and how this is a balance between technology and humanity. So I thought, okay, I had a bit of technology in the background. I did math and physics. I did all these tournaments. I'm an Asian kid. Of course, I'm doing all these STEM stuff. Let's do some more humanities stuff, understanding society a bit more. So that's why I went into psychology as an undergrad. And when I realized that, okay, wait, none of them know how to code, but I know how to code. Okay, so let me help them out with maybe we can use computers to model human behavior. Um, Back then, like misinformation on social media was quite a hot topic in research. So I did some research with the labs in Cambridge on how do we use computers to model the spread of information. So that's how I got into that academic side. It was really, really interesting, and it taught me a lot of like this intersection between technology and humanity. But at a certain point, I think it was actually when I left Cambridge, I started this new project where I looked at, wait, what if we have a society of AI chatbots? Let's say we have a society of 30,000 AI chatbots. What does their behavior look like? Do they look like humans? on social media. So I did I looped in my flatmate back then to help me out in doing this research project, this mad research project that's sort of just on the side, and no one told us to do it. We had no one like sort of we are not affiliated with any like institution. We're not part of a lab. So I just asked my old professors to help us out with like this crazy research project. And we ended up presenting it at a top conference and publishing it at a top journal. But then throughout that process, I just grew to realize that, you know what? That this whole time I'm just changing different narratives and writing things up and responding to revision and all of that. I'm not writing a single line of code. I'm not making this technology useful in any way. This idea of having an artificial society is an inevitable idea. The question is who can make it useful for the most people? So I decided that, you know what, this is a point where academia is not able to satisfy me, which is I don't think the best way to build a technology is by writing papers and chasing citations. I think the best way to build a technology is by trying to make it useful for as many people as possible. So that's when I decided, oh, okay, you know what? Let's try to build a product out of this idea of artificial societies. Let's try to make it useful. Sure, it might be really shit in the beginning, but since you're putting yourself out there, you're getting the feedback data, you're forcing yourself to improve it. That's how you build a technology, by making it useful. So that's how this started. It almost feels like my whole life has been sort of growing together and leading into this idea of artificial societies. So yeah, I'm gonna stay in this for a little while.
So you and Patrick both worked in a similar area. And how did you and Patrick meet actually?
Yeah, we didn't work in very similar area. I think we had similar backgrounds in that we are both behavioral scientists by training. I went into more of the computational model of human behavior side. So
Right.
before starting artificial societies, I was working at this London startup called Yonder Credit Card to help them model like consumers' financial behavior. So it's very much like on the computational model side, I was more of a machine learning person and a data scientist. You know, I will write deployment code to the horror of my bosses back then. And Patrick was more of an applied behavioral scientist, so going into companies and conducting research on their customers to help them find out what is the best way to communicate a certain thing. So it's very much almost. So I was reaching out to a bunch of different people to tell them this idea of artificial societies and to show them some of the demos that I built in the early days. And I reached out to this guy on LinkedIn, and he was like, oh, "Okay, this is interesting. Yeah, let's get a coffee." So we met up, grabbed a coffee. He was running an experiment at the time, helping a client test out which way to communicate a price change is the most effective at eliciting the right responses from your customer group. You know, 2, 3 months experiment, a lot of money goes into this, and it's a major decision for this company. And I was like, okay, let's see if we can simulate this. So I set up the notebook. It was still a Python notebook back then. I had to manually go in and then change the simulation parameters. And I hit run. And this process back then would take like 10 minutes, and sometimes it would just crash. So I was like sort of small talk and like keeping it going
Yeah.
during that time. And when the result finally came back, it matched exactly what the experimental result in the real world was showing, and also gave it more nuance in terms of like how individuals were talking about it, how did the information spread inside the network, etc. And I just saw his eyes open wide. I was like, yes, okay, this is an enterprise deal or like a B2B deal or something like that. But then later that day, he reached out to me. He was like, that's really cool, man. I'm ready to quit my job to join you in building this out. And then so that's how I met my co-founder Patrick. I was trying to sell to him, and I guess he was converted. And so we worked together for I think like a month and a bit after that to just see if we liked each other enough. And turns out we liked each other a lot and
Yeah.
decided to start a company together.
Finding founder is difficult, and that's a key to startups success. Why did you decide why, yes, Patrick is the right founder?
So that's a great question. Actually, a lot of my friends were asking me about this recently. They just said they're thinking of starting their own company. They're like, how do I find a co-founder? And I think so. One thing I would say about that is um, having the pay a lot of attention to the human part. You might think, oh, okay, this person has a credentials and all that, but you need to get along with each other. That's like the most underrated part that is super, super important to the survival and success of a startup. YC has this mantra that they say at the end of a batch. They tell founders that startups don't die by homicide, they die by suicide. So your startup wouldn't die because your competitors are going after you or because you ran out of money. In fact, most startups die before they run out of money. Some startups, go back to YC and say, "Oh, we are thinking of shutting down shop," when they still have more than 500K in their bank, which means they had more money than when they first started, when they first got a YC investment back in the old days. So why are they shutting down? Because they are no longer liking each other. They pivoted too many times and they're getting really
Right.
tired. The one way to get to not die is to make sure that you are really, really getting along with your co-founder and you are really able to build this trust between you. That's like by far the most important thing. Do you think you can build a strong, trusting relationship with this person? Do you think you can get to the point where you will go on holiday and you can trust that the other person will take care of your baby? And a lot of people give the analogy of like a co-founder is like finding a romantic relationship, is finding a marriage. There is a lot of truth in that sort of in that comparison because you're gonna spend the major like big part of your life with that person. So thinking about is that compatible? Can you hang out socially? And are you able to build that trust with each other? That's probably the most important thing. I think when I was first working with Patrick, what convinced me, I don't know what convinced him about me, but what convinced me about him was just how dedicated he is. Like he would send me ideas at like 10 p.m. and then he would like prepare all these different sketches of what the product could look like. So the product today couldn't happen without Patrick. I'm a researcher at heart. I'm really bad at designing products and at sketching things out. I have a broad, high-level idea, but Patrick is the one who brought it into existence from a product angle. So it's his passion that contributed to what the company is and what the product is today. And that's really important to see from the beginning. And just feeling like, okay, I think like the company and the product is in good hands. I can fully trust this person. And over the last year, we had so many moments of what we call rapture and repair, where we'll get into each other's heads and we'll like get on each other's nerves. But we will always learn how to repair that very quickly. And that's that psychological part. I think perhaps a lot of Silicon Valley founders are like, oh no, I don't care about that. I'm just going to grind and I'm just going to code. I'm gonna ship so much code. Like shipping a lot of code can get you an MVP. Building a strong psychological relationship with your team is what's going to get you to become a unicorn. That's very, very important to pay attention to.
Startup is a very long journey and it's difficult. If you're going to stay in the game for a very long time, it's better to, work with someone you like. You guys have such a complementary skill set to, one that is responsible in the high level design and the other one is so good at implementing.
I have this little mantra that um, let's try to let's try to ship the bare minimum improvement that can deliver the effect that we want to give to the user, because that really helps us learn quickly and ship quickly. And then, everyone ship. I like my job is to do the backend and the simulation design and the simulation coding and the deployment and maintaining all that systems. And Patrick, despite being non-technical in the beginning, well, he has domain knowledge in the beginning. He has grown to he lives in the code base as well. Like sometimes he will ship features as well. So like we all ship in the company. That's another thing I guess we have made a strong rule of is that always have that engineering mindset of delivering actual features and building the actual product for customers rather than just sitting back and thinking high level.
That's right. I think execution is super important when it comes down to product building and the product market fit finding. A lot of startups, they tend to struggle to find the right PMF. I know many of them, they failed. Some of them, they pivoted so many times before they eventually got the right PMF. But it seems like you guys find the right PMF at a very early stage, right? So there are two schools of thoughts, right? So first is to find the market and then work backwards. And the other thought is that actually work on the problem you already find or something you are specialized in, and then find the market. So which school, which thought are you in?
Thank you very much for saying that we have PMF, or we sometimes joke that we have what we call promise market fit, not not product market fit just yet. I think we are lucky that this concept has captured a lot of curiosity. I wouldn't say we've had full PMF just yet. I think we are still iterating and learning a lot about how do you provide a simulation product that delivers actual value to customers. Like this is the thing, no one else has built a simulation platform that anyone can use yet. Like we have a lot, there's a lot of fellow builders in the space of creating synthetic populations, but no one has an actual platform that anyone can just sign up and use. And they're all sort of behind enterprise sales, and I wonder why. And so like there's no one for us to follow. We just have to navigate this space quite a lot. I think we are quite a we are a special case in a lot of ways in that um, we're more of like a research to industry transition sort of startup type, where you have a specific research technology that you want to productize, and it's genuinely advised against by YC or by Entrepreneur First or by a lot of incubators to have a solution looking for a problem. They call it that, and it's genuinely advised against. But so why? I would say, like, why are we doing it? I would say it's more because we are obsessed with the wider problem behind the solution that we were exploring, that behind this idea of artificial societies, which is no organization knows for real how their stakeholders will react before they actually take the bet. Because anticipating how a society, how a group of humans will respond is just such a broad problem. That's what motivated the entire field of social science to go and solve. And our approach of an artificial society is just an AI-powered way to do social science. So we are obsessed with that problem, and we need to pick specific manifestation of that problem where the technology can be the most useful and build product around that to try to make it more and more useful across a wider domain. So that's how we went about doing it. I'm not saying that this is a right approach. I think there are many, many ways to build a business or to find product market fit or promise market fit, if you will. I think we are lucky in the sense that we have we are very idea driven for this business. Like we are very much like our name is artificial societies. It's not like we can pivot to dentist, receptionist, AI agent. Right? um, it's and that actually has given us a lot of conviction because the space of human knowledge, understanding humans, is so wide. There's so many applications. We can actually just pivot inside our space so many times to find it. I think this has a benefit in that we are building this as our life's work rather than just the business. Like it's our life's work to create a societal model that enables infinite experimentation so that everyone can have awareness of decision before making the decision. And we will try to go find whatever is the right product manner to deliver that. Whereas I think another equally valid way to build a business is to say, I want to build a business. Let me find a market. I know this market really well. What are the problems faced by this market? And let me build software tools around that. I think that is a very, very valid way to build a software solution business. Whereas artificial societies is slightly different from software in the sense that it is very research driven. It is very much, we want to help people understand society. it's not like there is a current solution for that humans can do right now. We just have to create a new technology that does it. So we are in the business of creating a new technology, which in this case makes sense to start from, okay, I think there's this technological framework. Let's go and find the most promising use cases for this technology. Whereas if you are building a solution-oriented business where you are finding a specific market and a specific problem where there are existing solutions, you are just automating that solution. I think that's probably a lot easier to build as a business, actually. And I would highly recommend doing that sort of business rather than our kind of business. I think we were quite lucky that our research and our product were able to go hand in hand. A lot of businesses either go too researchy or too producty, and it's a hard balance to find.
I want to zoom in a little bit. So in the very beginning, how did you decide what features to ship into the MVP? And how did you find your enterprise customers, especially?
Thinking about MVPs, it was very much what is the bare minimum that we can give to really showcase the power of this technology. And then we settled on this idea of testing different messages or like testing different pitch to investors, because it can sort of like provide a demo of what this technology can do. Hey, like it's really tough to talk to a lot of investors, and it's a really hard thing to get right. What if we can simulate a group of investors so that you can experiment how different ways of pitching, and then so we really just try to strip it back to the basics. Okay, there should be a box that lets you put in your pitch, and there should be a result section that tells you what the simulation thought. And the very, very, very first MVP, the first prototype, was actually an even simpler version where the box where you put in the idea is literally a type form. It's like you go on the website, you click on it, and then it takes you to a type form. And then you submit that. And as you hit submit, it sends me an email to wake me up to go and run a simulation. And I will run a simulation in the background and then format it into an email and then send it back to the user. So that was like the first ever prototype of artificial societies, where AI stands for Asian intelligence. It's just waking James up. So that's very much just stripping it all the way back. What is the bare minimum thing that we can do with the least engineering complexity, least scalability to like give some value? Because the moment you're giving value, you're trying to give value to customers, that's the moment when you start learning about what matters and what doesn't matter. If you are sitting back and imagining, oh, I think this would be valuable to customers, I think this would be valuable to customers, I'm sorry, you haven't spoken to many customers yet, you haven't explored what's going on yet. There is only so much you can do anticipating and imagining to find useful or not. Ship something very simple and put yourself into the product to feel how the user is using this product and getting value from it, and then navigate from there on. So I think that's how we approach the MVP building. And now from an enterprise customer, or like I'm just going to call it B2B customers, in general, I think that it's very similar. Is inserting yourself as the service provider. You are helping them achieve a goal. So let's say, one of our customer wants to expand into a new market, and then they're thinking about how do I position my product and what are the different messaging copy I can achieve with it. Let me just be a consultant and forward deploy into this business to help figure out what is the bare minimum I can do to give the most effect so that I can learn which part of this service that I'm providing is useful to them, which part is not useful to them. And then I will double down on the parts that are useful across all of my different customers or design partners, however you want to call it. And then I will really double down on that. So we've been doing both things, MVP and starting B2B stuff at the same time. So that we can see across both things, what are the elements that people really respond well to, even from a self-serve customer side to a business customer side, so that we can build a product that really is quite applicable across the range. That's how we've been approaching it. We're not there yet, but we're still in fact doing all of this process even today to try to make the product better.
Yeah, I quite like the term of forward deployment. There has been a rising demand of forward deployment engineering trend in the software building space or AI building space?
Being a founder is to be forward deployed because people want to buy a solution, not a tool. Like they want to, especially enterprises, they want to give you money so that you solve a problem for them. They don't want to give you money and then spend more time to try to like use your tool and then add a part of add faff to their process. So this is why a forward deploy founder, we call it, it's more like forward deploy founder in this case, because like, we don't have that many engineers. So we'll just go and actually try to deliver that service to people. It's just the best way to learn. Be close to your customer. That's the best way to learn. And being a forward deploy founder is just the best way to get the most out of, okay, what is helpful? What am I building that is helpful? And for us, this is especially important because we're developing a new technology. We can spend our research effort on an area that doesn't matter to the customer if we are not forward deployed into actually providing solutions to customers. So this is like even more important for businesses like us. Now, for a more vertical SaaS business, it's equally important because you have to figure out what you build. How do you know what you build if you're an 18-year-old building in like, I don't know, like construction SaaS? How are you going to know what matters for construction companies? Well, forward deploy yourself to figure out what are their workflows, what are their processes, are there parts that I can help to automate? Is it actually helpful? What is a bare minimum thing I can ship to achieve the yield of value delivery? And then can I scale this across different places? That's I think it's not even a new thing. It's really just how businesses should be built. I think it's just that with the Palantir wording of forward deploy, suddenly everyone is really hyped about it. But it's actually just a very simple part of building a business. Know your customers, build something useful for them, and then scale it. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more. Especially at the early stage, you have to sit close with customers, find what actually value is you can deliver to the customer. Now, you have you mentioned you have simulated 1,000 VCs, which eventually get you into Y Combinator winter 2025. So what are the unique insights you have uncovered that might help other founders to learn?
Yeah. So, well, we didn't know how to talk to investors back in the days. Like, so a year ago, around now, we were just looking at raising a pre-seed round and thinking about YC. We had no idea how to talk to investors. But we had a product that can allow us, well, we had a technology without a product that can allow us to simulate some people. So we were like, okay, let's go and simulate some investors. And so that's what we did. And it allowed us to just really figure out the right way to communicate our ideas. So YC YC also teaches you to be very concise about what your company does. So artificial societies uses a group of AI personas to simulate a large group of people. Suddenly it's really clear, oh, okay, I understand what's going on. But I can also say that artificial societies is a platform that allows you to run LLM-driven agent-based models. You have no idea what that sentence actually mean because it's just so vague and it's not really tangible. So having a simulation really helped us to find out what are the ways of describing our company that really communicates clearly and concisely what do you do. I think that's like the number one thing about pitching to investors or talking to investors or talking to talent is can you describe your company well in 2 sentences? And honestly, that's like a really valuable lesson from YC that we learned, apart from just our simulation itself. Like we also learned a lot from YC on this point. And of course, I sort of having that simulation was really nice because we in the YC application, there is a section of like, what's the time that you successfully hacked a non-computational system? And we were like, well, this application itself has been optimized across this many experiments amongst a simulation of VC investors. I think YC really liked that. They were like, oh, okay, this is this is interesting.
Of the most difficult questions to answer, like when is the time you feel, you hack the system and you feel proud of in the real life. And I think most people, they would give some, examples, like, oh, I've learned how to skydive, something like that. But I think you gave a real world example that you did something that other people or other startup haven't done before.
And well, it also demos the technology. So, well, I guess it worked since we did get into YC.
I want to know what are the lessons you've learned during the time you were in YC.
So, less big lessons from during YC. I would say the biggest value that we got from YC was just like setting the cadence of the team. When you are living with your team for 2.5 months during YC, it's a really high performance environment. And that just gets your team into this gear that you otherwise wouldn't be in. Like even today, we are still running on the same gear that we were basically doing during YC. A little bit less. We do have weekends now. We have 1 day of weekend each week. Like back in YC, it would just like be like 24/7 all the time. I think it really sets a really strong cadence. And you are a really high performance team because you are every day in the morning, you're like, okay, what are we doing? We are shipping this feature, and then it really draws into you to ship fast. Okay, what can we ship in 48 hours? What can we ship in 48 hours so that we can be real? That systematic change, I think, is something that we benefited a lot from doing the YC program. It's not something that they specifically taught you, but because you were going through that program, that just helps. That's just the thing um, that really gave you a long-lasting benefit in the throughout the later stages of startup as well.
Yeah, sounds like YC has been such an intense journey, but it really actually helps you set up such a competitive cadence.
In terms of specific learnings that we had from YC, I think these are all very basic things. Like they're building a business, there's not many secrets. Everyone has already written so much about it. PG has written so much about it. But sometimes it takes actually being there and actually being told by someone who has deployed $200 million of capital to tell you, okay, now go do this. For example, talk to your customers. Be obsessed with like, who are your customers? Why are they using your product? It's very unusual for a person to discover a brand new, unproven tool and start using it. That's really interesting. Let's find out more. Why are they using it? What are they getting value from it? Like, what is happening? And how do you make that happen more? So basically, that's the biggest learning from YC. I mean, like we knew that conceptually, but it was actually during one group office hour. We brought we built a little demo where you can simulate your LinkedIn, and we put a price on it, and then some people started paying us. And at first, Jared, our group partner, were like, "Oh, this is really interesting. Like, who are these people? Why are they paying you guys?" Um, and we were like, "This is so funny because it's like Jared has such little faith in us, and he's surprised that we actually had some paying customers." And then so he got really, really interested. He was like, "No, pull up your Superbase. Show me who these customers are. Do you have other information on who they are? Do you have traces on what they are doing?" I suggest that you create a Slack bot that just sends every single simulation that they run into your Slack channel so that you can see exactly what your customers are doing. And that we still have that Slack channel today, and we still go and read what are our customers simulating every day. So this way, you just stay close to understanding how are you delivering value. But you see, like sort of conceptually, we all know that you need to know your customers. You need to figure out how to deliver value. It's all conceptually really clear. But being in YC and having a group partner tell you, okay, let's have a look at their specific usage traces. Let's create a Slack bot that connected to your Slack channel. That's like a really specific thing. And suddenly you just feel like, oh, whoa, this is actually really important. And here are the ways I can stay really, really close to my customers.
Everyone nowadays is using AI, at least one AI tools. Everyone can write a perfect post. Now, how does one successfully to stay ahead of the game?
Yeah, so when it comes to, well, we're in the business of finding out what ideas land with people. And it's the same thing though with AI or not. AI is just a new technology of like it's like when the pen was invented. You can now write instead of just say things. Um, it's the same story. It's about understanding what's the community that you're reaching and what are the ideas that resonate with this community. That actually matters more than the specific word choices itself. That's what AI really struggles with, and that's what you can use artificial societies for. You can experiment what different ideas will resonate with different communities that you might have, and find the right idea to then write it out. I think like we are not here to replace the human ability to write, and then I think writing skill is really easy to train up as long as you have the idea. The idea matters a lot more than the specific wording. ChatGPT can help you with the wording, but you need to, in order to sort of keep up or stay ahead, is by understanding who are your communities that are engaging with you. Which one do you want to engage with? What are the ideas that you want to engage your community with? And then just consistently write there. That consistency is really important. I think before I started the company, like, so right now I'm lucky to have an okay brand on LinkedIn. And that's from posting hundreds and hundreds of posts consistently, twice or three times a week for the last few years to build it up to what I have today. That consistency, I mean, you probably know this as well, like from building your YouTube channel. Like in the early days, it's tough, but you just have to keep going. And then that consistency, that practice just gets you to the degree of understanding your community really well and understanding what ideas resonate with your community really well. That matters so much more than the specific wording itself, perhaps.
Do you run simulation for every post you post on LinkedIn nowadays?
Yes. So yes, in fact, I run more simulations than I post because there are some posts that I've written and I ran a simulation. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to post it. So, so it's very much like my human audience has been spared many of my bad posts thanks to artificial societies.
Yeah. So let's say after this podcast, what's the next big feature you're going to ship in the next 6 months?
So we are thinking of building this feature where we automatically run a lot of simulations on behalf of our user and just send them a summarized report of what's going on. We realize that our users are busy founders who are really busy and they only really have maybe 1 hour a week to experiment different posts or advertising or communication materials on artificial societies. We're like, okay, that's okay. Let's try to take this time. Let's try to make this count. Let's try to help our users experiment without needing their time because they are so busy. So let's try to build what we call proactive insight, where we run hundreds, if not thousands, of experiments in your artificial societies for you and give you a weekly suggestion of here are the ideas that you can explore to build your personal brand on social media or your company brand on social media. Here are the ideas that you can explore in terms of performance marketing and email communications so that we proactively deliver value rather than requiring the user to use it directly. So that's literally like what I'm going to look at later today.
So what's the best way to stay updated with artificial societies?
So following me on LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. I do post twice a week. Well, like disclaimer here is that just beware of what you're signing up. I do post quite a lot, and I apologize in advance if I take over your feed um, because of our tool. And a really easy way to start trying us out is to go to societies.io, and that's really easy. And honestly, if you want to reach out, we are at founders@societies.io. Send us an email. That's probably the best way to reach out.
Thanks so much. It's such a great pleasure to have a conversation with James. Yeah, congrats to such an extraordinary achievement in less than a year. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and the team in future in today's AI. Thank you, James.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Boyuan.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Every follow will help us make better podcasts and bring you more fun stories like this. I'll see you in the next episode.